Next, we continue on measures of dispersion and variation. So, the measure of absolute dispersion usually refers to the standard deviation of the given data. It's a measure of a variation from the mean whose units are the same as for the data. Okay, pila ito ang variation from our mean. Okay, so normally, kung taas atong variation, atong value sa SD, it means to say that our data is, most of our data is from the extreme. Okay? Sa iyang mga tail part. If you consider a normally distributed data or a data, isigna sa iyang tail part, iyang end to end. Okay? So you have there the formula for standard deviation. S is equal to the square root of the summation of all x sub I minus the mean squared all over n minus 1, where n minus 1 is what we call the correction for bias. Okay? Correction for bias na siya. For the standard population of the population, this is denoted by sigma. Okay? Sa population po niya. So you have there the summation of all x sub I minus mu, or the population mean, all over the population size. Okay? But in this case, we take into consideration the sample size data, no, sa S. So example, suppose we have the following as our data. So you have there 3, 5, 6, 9, 11, 12, and 20 taken as a sample. Find its standard deviation. Okay? So, bar X. So, we get first the mean. No? Muna yung pinaka-importante. So, the mean there is 9.43. And then, we apply the formula for standard deviation. So, in the following page, kita na to, no? The simplification there is 5.68. Using a calcu, our formula is you just inputs stdev for Excel. Okay? Sorry. Sa calcu nasa na. Okay? FX991, if your calculation has a stat format, pwede na solve sa standard deviation. But lain-lain, so dili na ako ma-generalize sa calcu. Sa Excel, pwede na ito ma-generalize, no? So, stdev, or standard deviation, from A1 to A7, considering mo na yung data diha. Then, on the A8, you will find the answer. Okay? 5.68. In sample number 2, ipagamit og Excel, no? So we can have that one, but not for now. Okay, so next is coefficient of variation. So in coefficient of variation, okay, so you also known as relative dispersion, is the quotient of the standard deviation and the mean. So bura ra po ni siya gi-percentage ang atong standard deviation, no? So you have there CV is equal to the standard deviation all over the mean. So 0.6, or make that 60% ang iyahang variation. So more than 50, so medyo layo-layo from the mean. Yung mga data is mostly away from the mean. In example number 3, find the coefficient of the data on the lifespan sample. Okay, so unsa man yung atong lifespan, no, katong kaganina. So the standard deviation there is 0.70. Wala ra man ni nato napakita, no, but kuan nato to siya og standard deviation mo na siya may magawas all over the mean, which is 3.4125. Thus we could get the CV of 20%. So ang variability itong lifespan katong mga species mas dugol no from the average. So we could consider that data katong sa lifespan as normally distributed. Okay? Dugol ra siya sa mean. Normal. Now to determine much more if our data is normal, we have this skewness. Okay? Kanigay criterion of how asymmetric the data is with respect from the mean. Okay? So the measure of skewness is a criterion on how asymmetric the distribution of the data is from the mean. Positive siya in this case with an asymmetric tail extending towards the right side, while negative indicates a distribution with an asymmetric tail extending toward the left. Okay? The distribution data is said to be symmetric is about the mean if its graph can be folded along a vertical axis. About the mean and the two sides coincide. So you have there the formula for SK. So the formula for SK there is n all over n minus 1 all over n minus 2 times the summation of x sub I minus barred x all over the standard deviation cube. So meaning to say, pwede magka-negative dire, no? So for example, the same example wherein our mean is 9.43 and our standard deviation is 5.6820 and the sample size is 7. So getting the value for skewness, the result is 1.02. Now let's evaluate what is the 1.02. Okay? Normal ba ni siya or skewed ba siya positively or negatively? So nadri ang note, no? Importante. If the value of SK exceeds 3 or lesser than negative 3. So meaning to say, iyang range is from negative 3 to positive 3. Kung masulod diha, normal siya. So and then the distribution of the data is skewed to the right. Kung mo-exceed siya og 3, ni-skewed siya to the right. Kung mo lesser than negative 3, ni-skewed siya to the left. Therefore, from this answer, SK 1.03, the distribution where this sample comes from is symmetric. O, symmetric na siya with respect to its mean. So, meaning to say, atong data is normal. Okay? Now, by the way, in a sample size, ang minimum entry nato is 30, no? If we can consider a normal distribution, minimum tayo of 30 diha, no? We use Z. Okay? Wala kabot Z, then we use the T distribution. Okay? Then we have another also box plot. Box plot representation is another way of telling whether or not the distribution of the data is symmetric relative to the median. It makes use of the median, quartiles, and third quartile. Since Q1 is the value of the data wherein 25% of the scores are below it, and third quartile is above 75% of all scores of the data when they are arranged in ascending order. Then Q3 minus Q1 covers 50% of all scores of the given data. So dapat makover niya ang 50% from Q1 to Q3. Okay? If not, dili siya normal. Okay? Okay? So since kita na to din, no? So you have an example, number 5. Make a box plot representation of the data on lifespan. I think more man ganina, no? So gikuha na tong median 3.4, first quartile 3.1, third quartile 3.8. Kabalo naman tamo kag Q3, no? 3 out of 4 times 40. So muna ang ika-3 siguro na, no? 3 out of 4 times 40 pila man ron? 30. Okay, so ika-30 entry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So ika-30 na to is 3.8. Okay? Then lowest value is 1.6, largest value is 4.7. So ang box plot niya, 50% of the data so makita na to pag box plot atong lowest value is 1.6, no, and then largest value is 4.7. So makita na to since the box is situated to the right of the data line, then most of the data lie to the right side of the mean. Okay, so 50% of the data is inside this box. So normal siya. So I want you to answer para dua gamay ra, so 1 and 2 lang. Okay, so I want you to answer 1 and 2 from the exercises. So ako na i-off. Okay.